You've spent your whole life searching for something you never actually lost. You lost it at birth, but it wasn't yours to begin with. And yet here you are, chasing shadows, convinced that the answer lies in the next achievement, the next person, the tomorrow that never comes. Do you know what hurts the most? That you already had everything and you forgot. It wasn't an accident. It was part of the contract. You were born whole, present, pure, and then the world taught you to forget. They trained you to look outside for what was always inside, and now you live trapped in a movie you didn't even write. Every thought you believe is yours is a repetition. Every emotion you feel is an echo of the past or a projection of the future. Where are you in all of this? Nowhere. You got lost so long ago that you don't even remember what it feels like to be present. The truth is brutal and simple. You don't exist where you think you exist. You live in your head, a prisoner of a voice that never stops talking, a voice that convinces you that you are your thoughts. But you're not. You never were. That voice is the jailer, and you've spent decades confusing it with your identity. You wake up every morning, and the first thing you do is connect to it. Before you even open your eyes, you're already thinking, worrying, planning, remembering. Have you ever wondered who is listening to those thoughts? Because if you are the one who thinks, then who is the one observing? There it is, the crack, the hole in the mental matrix. There is something in you that exists before thought, something that doesn't need words or stories to be, but you've ignored it for so long that you don't even know it's there. From the moment you were born, you were taught to identify with form, your name, your body, your story, your nationality, your achievements, your failures. They told you that this is who you are, a lie. All of that is temporary, changing, illusory. The name you carry is not you, it's a label. The body you inhabit is not you, it's a vehicle. The story you tell about yourself is not you. It's a narrative built by the ego to keep you asleep. And it works. It works so well that you can spend entire decades without questioning it. You live like a character in a play, repeating lines you learned without realizing there's a stage beyond the stage. Most people die without waking up, without ever realizing it was all a performance. Here is what you don't want to hear. Your suffering is not real, not in the way you experience it. Suffering is born from resistance, from the ego's inability to accept what is. Every time you suffer, it's because your mind is fighting reality, denying the present, clinging to the past, or projecting into the future. Pain is inevitable. That's part of human existence, but suffering is optional. It's a choice you make without realizing you're making it. Because the ego needs suffering to survive, needs problems, conflicts, drama. Without them it dissolves, and the ego cannot allow that, so it invents stories. This shouldn't be happening. I don't deserve this. My life should be different. All lies. Life is what it is, and your resistance only adds layers of torment. But there is something deeper here, something your mind cannot understand because it's designed to avoid it. The ego is afraid to die, and it knows the present is its death. That's why it keeps you trapped in psychological time, that invented space where past and future live. Every time you replay a resentment, every time you worry about something that hasn't happened yet, you are feeding the ego, giving it energy, allowing it to keep controlling you. The present is the only place where the ego cannot exist, because the present has no narrative, no story, no identity. It is pure being, and the ego doesn't know how to be, only how to do, want, resist. Have you ever felt that sensation of being disconnected, of watching your life from the outside as if you were a spectator of your own existence? That isn't depression, it isn't a psychological problem. It's a flash of consciousness, a sign that something in you is waking up. But the ego interprets it as a threat and pulls you back into the trance. It distracts you with thoughts, with worries, with urgent tasks that aren't really urgent. And you fall back in. The cycle repeats. You are born asleep, you live asleep, and unless you wake up, you will die asleep. That's how it works for most people. Human existence becomes an unconscious loop, a repetition of mental patterns that are never questioned. Here is the key that changes everything. You cannot think your way out of this. Thought is the problem, not the solution. Every time you try to solve your suffering by thinking about it, you make it worse. The mind cannot heal itself because the mind is the wound. So what do? You stop trying, you stop seeking answers, you stop resisting, you simply observe. You become aware of your thoughts without identifying with them. You watch them pass like clouds in the sky, without holding on, without judging. And in that space of pure observation, something changes. It's not something you can force, it's not something you can reach, because it's already there. It has always been there. You just need to stop searching to find it. But let's be honest, this is not easy. The ego doesn't surrender without a fight. It will do everything it can to keep you asleep, to convince you that you need to think more, analyze more, solve more. It will tell you that this is too simple, too passive, too useless. And if you're not careful, you'll believe it, because the ego is clever. It disguises itself as you. It speaks with your voice, and you think its thoughts are your thoughts, but they aren't. They are old patterns, inherited programming, collective fears. They aren't yours. They old, never were. And here's the interesting part. The moment you realize you can observe your thoughts, you automatically stop being them. That distance, that space between you and your mind is the beginning of awakening. It's small at first, almost imperceptible, but it grows, and the more it grows, the more freedom you experience. Now comes the most painful part. Everything you've built, everything you've achieved, everything you believe defines you, means nothing. Not in the sense that it has no relative value, but in the sense that it will never lead you to the truth. You can have success, money, recognition, love, and still feel empty. In fact, most successful people are more lost than anyone because they've reached the goals the ego told them would make them happy, and they discover it doesn't work. So they seek more goals, more achievements, thinking maybe the next one will finally be the one. But it never is, because the happiness you seek isn't in the future. It isn't in any external accomplishment. It is here, now, in the acceptance of what is. But that sounds too simple, too boring for the ego, so you ignore it and keep running. Here is the secret few understand. Peace is not something you achieve, it's something you recognize. It's already in you. It always was. The problem is that you look for it where it isn't. You look for it in the next moment, in the next experience, in the next improved version of yourself. And while you search, you miss the only thing that's real, the now. This moment, this breath, this bare existence without decorations, without stories, without labels. Here there are no problems. Here there is no past or future. Here there is only being. But the ego hates the now because in the now it cannot survive. So it drags you into psychological time where it can keep creating drama, problems, identity. Most people live like zombies, repeating the same patterns without questioning them. They get up, go to work, complain, distract themselves, sleep, and repeat, year after year, decade after decade, and they never ask, who am I without my thoughts? What remains when I stop identifying with my story? Those questions are frightening because they imply a death, not a physical death, but the death of the ego, the false self. the constructed identity. And the ego prefers familiar suffering over the uncertainty of awakening. That's why most people choose to stay asleep. It's safer, more familiar, more comfortable. But it's also a prison. And are you willing to die without having lived? Because that's what happens when you live identified with your mind. You don't live, you survive, you function, you react. But you are not truly here. You are in your head, reliving the past or rehearsing the future, and life passes without you touching it. The most beautiful moments are lost because you're distracted thinking of something else. The people you love fade because you are never really present with them. Everything slips through your fingers because your hands are busy clinging to thoughts. There is a way out, but it's not what you expect. There are no magic techniques, no secret formulas, no steps to follow. There is only a shift of attention. You stop losing yourself in thoughts and begin to inhabit your body. You feel the breath. You feel the weight of your body on the chair. You feel the air on your skin. And in that feeling, in that pure presence, something breaks. The trance dissolves for a moment, and in that moment, you are free. It's not permanent at first. The ego drags you back. But now you know there is something more. Now you have a crack in the prison, and every time you return to presence, the crack grows wider. But here's the trap. The ego will try to turn this into another goal, another pursuit. It will say, I need to be more conscious, I need to meditate more, I need to reach enlightenment. And so even awakening becomes a new form of sleep, because you cannot strive to awaken. Effort is part of the problem. Awakening is not something you do, it's something that happens when you stop doing, when you stop resisting, when you accept this moment exactly as it is, without trying to change it, without trying to improve it, without trying to escape from it. That is where the doorway is, in total surrender to what is. And now the most important question, are you willing to let go? Are you willing to release the need to control, to understand, to improve? Can you simply be, without adding anything, without taking anything away? Because that is the only way out. There are no shortcuts, no tricks, only presence. And presence is not something you learn. It is something you remember, something you forgot at birth, something that has always been waiting for you, right here, in the only place where life truly exists, now. Most people never return. They stay lost in the mind, in the illusion of time, in the eternal search for something that will never arrive. But you have an opportunity, here, now, in this very instant. You can choose to awaken, not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, now, because the now is all you have, it's all you ever had, and it's all you ever will have. The question is, will you accept it, or will you keep running toward a future that never comes, chasing a peace that is already here? The ego will tell you this is not enough, that you need more, that this cannot be everything. But the ego lies. It has always lied. And if you keep listening to it, you will spend the rest of your life chasing ghosts, building sandcastles that time will wipe away without mercy. Or you can stop, now, feel life flowing through you. Feel the stillness beneath the noise. And in that stillness, discover that you are never lost. You are only asleep. And now, if you choose, you can wake up. If something in this video resonated with you, if you felt even a flicker of recognition, then you are not here by accident. This channel exists for those who are ready to question, to awaken, to stop living on autopilot. Subscribe if you want to keep exploring these uncomfortable truths that no one else dares to say. Every video is an invitation to step out of the trance, and those of us who've made it this far know there is no turning back. See you in the next